We have here Mr. Overlanding Forward with his Range Rover. We're going to throw some questions at him. Some of you have commented and I've got them on here.
It's great to meet you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you for your hospitality.
No problem at all.
Been good coming to see you.
Yeah.
And the dogs.
Yeah.
And the beautiful weather.
Yeah, we've been lucky with the weather. It's set to be like this for a while, I think. But I've got a few questions on the old phone, if I can read them.
Go on then.
First one, obviously off-roading. Tyres, do you air down? If so, when and by how much?
Yes. So it really depends on, I know the trails I'm going to do. So if it's like loose gravel, I don't. I just leave it 40 front and rear.
Yeah.
If I know it's rocky, I'll air it down to 28.
Yeah.
And that's about as low as I can go on these profile tyres. So these are 55 profile.
Yeah.
If I had 60 or 65, I could probably go a bit lower.
Yeah.
But it's a heavy vehicle, and I don't really want to go any lower than that.
No.
But it gives me enough traction that if you go down to the rocky stuff, it sort of gives you a better footprint.
Yeah. Yeah.
So most times, no. If it's gravel, rocky. If it's rocky, yes, probably. So when I did the Trans Portugal a few weeks ago, it was wet, but it was a lot of up and down. And so before I got on it, I dropped them to about 32.
Yeah.
It gives you enough traction.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Next one, off-road related again. Special programs. Do you use the special programs feature on the Range Rover for getting over or through various obstacles, or do you just switch traction control off and gun it?
Both.
Right.
So having come from a Defender, which is sort of analog, shove it into four-wheel drive, diff lock. That one had ATBs on the front and the middle and the rear. So you really had no gizmos on it. And you sort of learn how to drive that thing. This was totally different. And I played with the different terrain responses. Most of the time I just put it onto, gravel, that sort of first one. And it does the rest.
Yeah.
I very rarely turn traction control off on it.
Right.
And because I've got the rear locking diff on it,
Yeah.
we were talking about it yesterday, right?
Yeah.
It comes on every now and again on really loose stuff.
Yeah.
But in most cases, I don't do that.
No.
I've not done any hardcore rock crawling stuff, right? No Jeeps going through Moab crap.
No.
So there's no really to put it into rock crawling mode. But I think, out of the box with all-terrain tyres, playing with your tyre pressures, they're phenomenally capable.
Yeah.
Straight out of the box.
Cool.
I've not tried it in snow because we've not had any snow.
No.
We'd have to go. I'm not sure where we would go to get snow. But I think that's all down to it's the type of tyres you have.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about, you got your Fiat Panda.
Yeah.
And you put these onto sort of slippery grass.
Yeah.
If you have really good all-terrain tyres, you can get good traction.
Yeah.
So I think that's possible.
Yeah.
I also think experience comes in as well. If you've been doing it for a while and you can assess what you're driving, then you can figure out whether you need low range. I can honestly say I've not put this in low range that much.
No.
Because it's got enough torque in it where it can figure out whether it needs to put more traction to whatever wheels you've got. I think when we did the dry riverbed last year, I did stick it into to low range because it wasn't dry. There was a lot of standing water around and there was a lot of like loose sand and gravel.
Yeah.
And I was at the back and I watched the other guys sort of slip and slide and sort of drop wheels and stuff. So I did stop and stick it into low range.
Yeah. I think the only time we use low range is just to slow the car down.
Have you ever used the hill descent?
The last trip we had, there was quite a steep hill going down, and I got Tina out to do some filming, and just to keep the car steady going down. I was using hill descent, but other than that, I don't normally bother. I just let the car. If I put it into low range, I'll select the gears because you put it in low range, it wants to set off in second most of the time. Yeah. If we're out filming and I want to keep the car slow and steady, I'll select first and just use the engine braking.
Hill descent is a leap of faith.
Yeah.
I think the first time I actually tried it, because I did this, I think it was in January a couple of years ago, I took this to Spain and did the same trails. And there's a section that's really rocky and steep going down. And I'd done it in the Defender before, and all you could just do is basically put it in low range, stick everything on, stick it in first, and just let it engine break down. And so I tried it again, and it's a massive leap of faith when you want to hit the brakes, which you shouldn't do.
No.
And you sit there with your foot hovering over, and after a period of time, you realise that the vehicle could just do it.
Mm.
And so you either hit the air conditioning button, enjoy the sound, and just let it comfortably cruise down, which you wouldn't get at a Toyota. You'd be bouncing all over the bloody place.
Yeah.
But that's when I think you realise that it really is a phenomenally engineered vehicle, and it can do a lot of things that you probably wouldn't even think it could do.
Yeah.
So hill descent, I've actually used hill descent, works on the way up as well.
All right.
So you can actually, if you put hill descent on, if you're in low range, you've got hill descent on, it will actually control it on the way up.
All right.
But again, that's a leap of faith. You still have to use your foot.
Yeah.
It does work on the way up.
Do you think that the rear locker on yours makes a difference? And do you think that a standard Range Rover with its special programs and traction control would be able to keep up?
Does it make a difference?
You might have covered it in the earlier question.
Yeah, I think it does make a difference. I mean, I bought that one because I knew I could get a rear locker, only because I'd only driven one, never driven one off-road. And I thought by having a rear locker as standard, then it's sort of like a guarantee that it'll be just as good as the Defender. I think in all the miles I've done, you were saying to me how many miles, how much miles have I done off-road? It's all been done in either Spain, Portugal, Italy or France, or Germany. I've probably done about 5,000 miles off-road in it.
Mm.
It's not serious off-road, but it's not tarmac.
No.
You and I both know that we get people that say,
well,
that's not off-roading. Well, it is, because it's not tarmac. I've only seen it go on about half a dozen times, and it was on one stretch of that dry riverbed that we did sort of last year. And that's only because it was loose sand with a lot of water on it where it hadn't compacted.
Mm.
And then coming out of it, there's a real steep climb to get up and out, and there's a lot of loose gravel.
Yeah.
Then I saw it come on, and it was on for a while. Just the green padlock was on. Both of them were on. Does it make a lot of difference? I don't know. I think, again, it's back to tyres. If you had a really good set of tyres, I think that makes a big difference, because it will take care of itself whether you've got a rear locker or not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a nice to have. I think I've did some sand trails when I was in Portugal this trip. There's a place between Sines and just south of Lisbon where they did all the gas lines that go up to Lisbon. And I took it on some of those, and there's a lot of loose sand. There's lots of cars have been on it. And I did one stretch for probably about 5 miles. That rear locker was clicking in and out all the way through it.
Yeah.
I wasn't in low range either.
No.
I also think a lot of this is to do with your driving style as well.
Yeah.
If you're not used to driving in sand, which I'm not, and you sort of try and watch what other people do.
Yeah.
You can't really floor it, because if you've got a vehicle that doesn't have a traction system, it begins to sort of dig itself down.
Yeah.
You've got to be really careful when you take off.
Yeah.
And then it's all around momentum and keeping a consistent speed when you do.
Yeah.
I do love sand. I mean, I'd love to be able to do the entire trail north-south on those Portugal sand trails.
Yeah. Your Range Rover behind us is fairly well kitted out. Any plans for any more mods?
No, because I've got everything I need. It's taken 18 months, I guess, to build it, or 2 years to build it out. The only thing, and you recommended, was I need to get bash guards on the front. And so there's a place in Portugal that you recommended. Was it 4x4 Mania, I think?
Something like that. I can't remember.
So I've ordered one of their front bash plates that cover the radiator, just to see, whether the thing fits. And then if it does, and it fits okay, we all know that some of these things don't 100% line up.
Yeah.
Then they've got an engine guard that I think replaces the plastic cover.
Yeah.
So if that one fits at the front, then I'll go get the engine cover. My plastic engine cover under the bottom has got some nasty gouges in it. So I think at some point in time I've hit something that sort of grazed it.
Yeah.
But I don't do any serious stuff to warrant full bash plates front and rear. But I think, having some sort of protection underneath it will go a long way. Because all this is plastic. I mean, you and I were talking about, the different trim pieces that are covered on there. It's all plastic. You hit a rock, you're going to cave in the front of it quite quickly.
Yeah.
So no, there's nothing else to do. I need to rework I'm taking out my inverter, and I need to rework all that back panel. But everything else in there is fine. I mean, I've got no seats in there now.
No.
And so I got enough storage space. I can't think of anything else that needs to go on it.
What is your favourite bit of camping gear?
Favourite bit of camping gear?
That you can't do without?
Well, it would have to be the cot.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have the rooftop tent. I'm not sleeping on the ground, I'm on the cot. And you saw me last night in my little cot tent. It's the cot. It's unbelievably comfortable.
Yeah.
And although I've got a mattress on it. So I wouldn't go without that.
Right.
Because I've got this this thing called a Zen bivvy, which is like it's a quilt, but it's in a bag and it's got a sheet under it.
Right.
So you could put the sheet over the top of the cot. You could actually sleep outside on the cot.
Yeah.
In a, it's got a hood on it as well, if you wanted to. Not sure I want to, but yeah. The cot is incredibly comfortable. You saw me put it out, and pack it up. It doesn't take that long.
No, it was 5 minutes. Quite quick, yeah.
So I would say I couldn't live without the cot.
Where is your next adventure going to be?
A bunch of us are going to go back and do the Trans-Portugal north to south, then east to west, then back up the same sand trail to Lisbon. I think we're trying to do it in March, I think.
Okay, cool.
4 of us are going to do it. A couple of the German guys might be coming as well.
Yeah.
But that will be the next one, early spring next year.
So we have a question here from Piston Slap UK. And he said, is he still traumatised by the bill for fixing the Range Rover? And would you ever consider getting a new Defender?
Right, so the people can figure out how much it costs to get the engine fixed. You have to remember that both turbos went, and I'd already planned on going in there and getting new alternator, starter, all of the timing gear and everything on the front.
Yeah.
Oil pump, auto pump, all of that was planned before this happened. So I had already budgeted to do that bit. The downside to that was the engine had to come out because we blew both turbos. And then it was things like glow plugs had to be replaced. And I'm of the opinion this is probably the last vehicle I will probably own until Sadiq Khan taxes me out of doing it. That if it was going to, when they were in there, I basically said, if you see anything that needs replacing, replace it, because it's cheaper to do it when it's out.
Yeah.
So am I traumatized by the bill? Not really. The turbos, both turbos are Garrett refurbished turbos. They were 1,500 each. But these are sequential turbos. Yours are, you got 2. I got the 2 stacked on top of each other. That's just the cost of putting turbos on a Range Rover.
Yeah.
So the other thing that added onto the bill was all of the rear bushings on the rear subframe had gone. They were down to just metal plates. There was no rubber there.
Yeah.
So that had to be done anyway. If not, I wouldn't have got it through the MOT. And that's a subframe out problem. So when that came out, there's a whole series of things you can get at when the subframe's out that you couldn't get at when it's there, like the rear parking brake modules there. That was factory. And so they just said, we can get a reconditioned one. It's out. Do it now. If not, the whole thing's got to come out if it goes. So I'm of the opinion, if it's out and you can get to it and it's not massive cost, replace it.
Yeah.
So I'm not traumatized by it because I knew it was going to cost quite a bit to do it.
Yeah.
And I planned for it. The only things I hadn't planned for was engine out, and so no, I'm over it now. And you and I were talking about this yesterday. Is like, what alternative did I have? I had a broken Range Rover with an engine that wasn't running. People were saying to me, well, go buy another one. Well, that was going to cost, I don't know, whatever it was. Then it's vehicle unknown, service unknown.
Yeah.
And I fixed a lot of things on this since I've had it. To me, it just made sense to fix it.
Yeah.
Because I'd still have my vehicle.
Yeah.
So the good thing is, it was off the road for 5 months. So it wasn't like I got one bill at once. It was sort of staggered over the time. But yeah, I mean, what I paid for it and what I had to do to fix it, it was balancing out.
Yeah. And would you ever consider a new Defender?
No. No, I mean, I love my L322.
I've not taken to the new Defender. Something in my mind, they don't look right. And to me, a Defender is an old farmer's truck.
Yeah.
Utilitarian. You can wash it out with a hose pipe. It's but as you said, analog.
Yeah.
Obviously, technology improves as you go on, but I think I don't know. I wouldn't want a new Defender. I've not been in one, and I've never really got on with the old ones because my size, they are a pain in the arse to drive unless you've got the window open.
Yeah, you don't have the frame to fit in one, do you?
No, so I've driven a few and they're just, for me, uncomfortable. Range Rover, lovely.
Agreed. And I don't think that the new Defender's any more capable than what we've got.
No.
I mean, it's basically the same traction control system. It's the same electronic air suspension system with a few little tweaks.
Yeah.
I don't like the styling of them. They just look too boxy.
Yeah.
A neighbour of mine has a 110, and it's obviously not kitted to do what I do, or when you take it off-road. It's got road-based tyres. It's a shuttle backwards and forward to get the kids and go to Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like him. I like the styling from the rear. The front just looks like a Skoda to me. And when you look at them, the way that they seem to be just like modded out now as like the new Chelsea tractor, which these ones would have been.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, we were talking about Range Rover Classics yesterday.
Yeah.
And I've had an older Range Rover when I lived in the States, but to me, and Sam knows this as well, this is one of the best looking Range Rovers out there.
Yeah.
And when you go 405s, they look different, and the new ones just don't look anything like the original ones.
No.
But I think that's also probably generational. You and I probably look at cars differently the way people look at cars now.
Yeah.
So when you look at those cars, the modern ones today with touch screens and all the rest of it, it's what people were used to doing with our phones and that.
Yeah.
But I think these are the last of the true Range Rovers before went completely upmarket.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. A question here from Zach Hudnall, 1908. Another two-part question. What has been the hardest issue faced with the L322 ownership, and the amount of stress that off-roading has had on the vehicle?
Right, the stress on the vehicle, I think they're built to really high quality standards, and they're tested to do it. Somebody wrote to me a while back telling me that this cost £1 billion to develop.
Right.
Now I don't know if that's real or not, but the development that BMW shoved into this thing, I reckon they really put it through its paces. I've not seen any problems with it by taking it off-road. It's not caused any other issues. I mean, it's just wear and tear, right? If you take it off-road and your ball joints on the front and crap like that, you're gonna end up wearing them out longer if you're stuck on tarmac. So I don't think off-roading causes any more stresses to it. What was the first question?
What's the hardest issue faced with L3?
Ownership.
I think I might know one of these answers.
What would you say?
ULEZ.
Yeah. But there again, it's 12 years old. It's coming up 12 years old. So it's nothing I can do about ULEZ.
No.
And I don't. You and I talk about. I don't drive it every day.
No.
It sits on the road for probably 10 days before I have to move it.
Yeah.
So I don't get knackered with that. I think the big thing with these things is you have to keep up with maintenance. And I think too many people that buy these second-hand or third-hand, fourth-hand think that because it's a Range Rover, you could just drive it and it'll keep on going.
Yeah.
But I think you have to keep up with brakes wear out a lot quicker because it's a lot heavier.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got problems again with the front, with one of my calipers causing a warped disc again. A lot of the bushings sort of wear out a lot earlier, especially if you take them off-road because of wear and tear. I'm pretty religious and doing like 5,000 miles. I do an oil and filter change. Some people have said, well, you're changing your oil and filter, too often. Well, sorry, but it's not going to do any damage, and it doesn't really cost that much.
No.
So I think it's trying to take care of it, and this has got 160,000 miles on it now. And I think by changing the oil a lot regularly will help it. But I think people's misconceptions of these, and the problem is that there's too many bodge jobs done on them where people run out of money because they could become money pits.
Yeah.
And then they get on these forums, starts trashing them, they're unreliable, and it cost me this. It's like, well.
I mean, you see a lot of these Range Rovers on YouTube where people have bought them for £4,000 or £5,000. the previous owners obviously bought them for say 18 to 20,000 pound a few years back, and that sort of person has bought the Range Rover and they can't maintain it,
Right.
and then the next generation are coming through and buying them cheaper, that's 4 to 5,000, and they've not been maintained, and then they just diss them all over YouTube. It's the worst, most unreliable car, it's this, it's that, it's a pile of junk. But if it's not been serviced properly, it's going to, any car would.
Any car. I mean, you go buy a Porsche Cayenne, high-end stuff, I mean, they're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, I mean, the first ones are 20 years old now.
Yeah.
You go buy some of those BMW engine ones from 03, 04, 05, 06. I mean, you're going to be looking at a 20-year-old vehicle that, you know, service unknown, history unknown.
Yeah, I mean, our old TD6 was a 2002. So one of the very first. We paid £3,500 for it, and it was falling apart.
Yeah.
It was solid. It did the job. Gearbox was on its way out. Both the subframes were corroded. I changed various bits and pieces on it, but at that price range, with no history, it's what you expect.
Yeah.
And you probably get it a lot. I get it a lot on the channel. People slagging off Range Rovers, saying they're so unreliable. But all my years on the road as a recovery driver, they're no more unreliable than any other car out there.
I'm still 6 hours away from the ferry, and I'm dared to say not any problems, because you know what's going to happen. If I say something, I'm going to...
Yeah.
So, as far as reliability, there's no wood.
A bit of wood behind you, but you have to run to it.
I think you get to learn about the noises and the sounds of your vehicle, and the nuances that we all know. We were talking about opening the car doors on these models, and the damn things fire all these ECUs up and leave the doors open and run the battery down in 15 minutes. So you learn to live with these things, and you do get a bit frustrated. It's like, why does it start all this stuff up? I think it's down to regular maintenance and looking after it. If you hear some strange knock, get it fixed. Don't use brick part.
No.
I mean, it's just no point. Just don't use shitty parts, and take care of it, and use what was built for it. I think you end up with a better, more reliable vehicle.
Yeah.
But there's a channel, I can't remember his name now. He's up in Manchester. He loves these things, and so he's got different versions, different models. I can't remember his name now. I'll figure it out and we can put it at the bottom.
We'll put the link in.
But he always said, there's nothing wrong with these. They've been badly maintained. Bad reputation is not what it's supposed to be. And if you do buy one, you should probably keep an extra grand away to fix the niggly little things that they're going to inevitably have. And back to what I said before, is the early ones are 20 years old.
Yeah.
This is 12.
Yeah. Exploring with Jacob, 8641. Have you any plans for a new 4x4 in the future, and if so, what?
No.
No.
And like we were talking about, it definitely won't be a Toyota. You couldn't pay me to get in one. No, I don't. I mean, I love my L322. I've done everything I can that I want to do to it.
Yeah.
They're brilliant vehicles off-road, and they're great on-road. I mean, I've done close to 3,000 miles on this trip.
Yeah.
And we were talking yesterday about cruising on the motorways around here. They're not like the UK motorways where you get some knobhead in the middle of the lane doing 65. They're just wonderful just to cruise around on European motorways. And I think that's the benefit of choosing this over the Defender. The Defender is a farm truck. And even though I had a TD4, you could still cruise around doing 65 quite comfortably in it.
Yeah.
But you had to do, soundproofing, put different seats in it. But this one is just a luxurious cruising car.
Yeah.
So you can get to wherever you want to go, somewhat reliably.
Yeah.
Comfortably, and then go do what everybody else can do comfortably as well.
Yeah.
When we did the Spanish Velta trip last year, so there was a D4, there was me, there was another guy in a Range Rover Sport, and there was Josh who had a Ford, I can't remember, sorry if you're watching Josh, but he had a Ford pickup, and I was at the back on some that we did 15 miles of really rocky, washed out trails. With virtually no tarmac in between it. And I was sitting there watching the back of this thing bounce and crash all over the place.
Yeah.
And I could hear the tools in the back of his car rattling around. And then I was in front of him, and he would get on the radio and he would just sort of say, you could just see the back of it do this.
Yeah.
And you get these, you may get it, I get it all the time, where especially when people look at these because they've got airbags and say, well, they don't articulate. Well, they do. You just don't get to see it in the amount of articulation because there's independent suspension. So if you go over a rock and you drop one side, it will drop itself down.
Yeah.
The other one will push itself up.
Yeah.
You just don't get to see it in the same sort of level
No.
if you had solid axles.
No. And I think the benefit with independent suspension, you've got more ground clearance.
Yeah.
You've not got a bloody great axle, the diff housing hanging down.
Yep.
That's all tucked up nicely. You just got a couple of shafts out to your wheels, and it's...
The one thing that I've got on this, and I've talked about this before, I've got one of Max's Easy Lift kits from Land Rover Passion. So that is basically a bolt-on ECU.
Yeah.
And you control it through a little jog dial or through an app. If I go off-road, I raise everything up 50 mil. And then if I hit the extended mode, it will go up again another 25 mil. Now you're pushing the airbags to their sort of limit of what they can really do. When you push everything back up, you've got a massive amount of clearance under there because there's nothing hanging down.
No.
So you can go over rocks where solid axles with the diffs are like, well, where's my diff?
Yeah.
And in Defender, you normally know it's over sort of this left, this knee. You don't even need to worry about that.
No.
And I think I told you yesterday, I got one situation where I'd slipped off a trail. It was hard. And then it just sort of like sunk itself down into where the washouts were. I didn't do anything. It pushed itself into extended mode to give me just enough ground clearance because I'd bottomed out somewhere where it just like lifted it up and off we went. And I did nothing. I just sat there and it just like pushed itself up and then just kept on going.
Yeah.
So going off road like that with these, even if you use lift rods, I mean, lift rods, the problem with lift rods is shit. It sends everything up 2 inches.
Yeah.
And then if you go through the gap tool, everything goes up.
Yeah.
So the bolt-on ECUs are really good because you can specifically say I want 50 mil, cancel it, or you can go down minus 25, so you can control it that way, or go straight back to factory.
Yeah.
So
good bit of kit.
yeah, they're good, and they're really easy to do as well. It's just you've got to get to the back and plug it in. And, but you can turn it off as well. So,
Cool.
So obviously yours is set up to do different things to what this one is. I mean, this one is sort of more of an old landing vehicle, which is what I built. When you go off road, do you worry about scratching it, bashing it up?
The first time we started scratching the car, I was like, oh my god, no. You know, we're trying to keep this car nice. We need to keep it to last. It's a long time sort of thing. But then we come to the realisation that if we're going to be coming out doing off-roading, you know, local trails, they're not always the best kept. So you do get a lot of branches coming in. I think we're just going to have to suck it up. Give the car a bit of a polish every now and again and hope some of them buff out.
Yeah, it's the first time you hear all of the side of a tree go down the side of your wonderful paintwork, and then you think, oh no.
It sounded like someone was dragging a wire brush down the side of the car.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I thought, well, we're here now, we're committed, can't it's going to do it if I go backwards or forwards.
It's going to be worse if you go back.
Yeah, so just keep going, and luckily it wasn't too bad. If we had a good look over the car, you'd probably see some scratches, but the paintwork on these is quite hard wearing.
Yeah.
Because there were some big branches sticking in the side of it, and you can't really tell, but I think I've got over that now, so I think the first time was the worst, and we'll just have to take it on the chin.
And we've got the worst colour cars for doing this sort of stuff, because I try and, because obviously when you drive, you try and keep away from it, so on the driver's side you sort of, well, there's no trees this way, I can see it, but you can't see it on the other side. So on the passenger side, I've got some big scratches down the side of it, but luckily they're quite lower down, so they probably would buff out. I don't think I could do it. But you and I were talking about, I might get this wrapped on the sort of like on the doors and everything just to protect it. I don't really want to scratch it.
No.
One thing I am impressed by these is the amount of paint that's actually been put on them. Because the clear coat, I've gone through the clear coat, but I've not gone down to sort of below that.
No.
So I think they put quite a lot of paint on these things.
Yeah.
But as soon as you buff it, you take another layer off.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Well, clearly you can't get into a rooftop tent.
No.
So when you go camping, what do you use?
We've just got a little 3-man pop-up tent.
Yeah. Good.
We've not used it yet. we've not even put it up. And the only reason I bought it, my brother's coming at the end of the month and his kids are going to sleep in it. So we'll put it up somewhere out here, and that'll be the first time putting it up. And we just got an air mattress. The plan is, or was at some point, we've got a twin axle trailer.
Yep.
And we can take the cage sides off of it, and we can have like all the camping gear in the bottom, and maybe put a rooftop tent on the sides, you know, because it's got a frame around it. Because I can probably get up onto the trailer and then into the tent.
Yep.
That's all down to money at the end of the day, which I think our little 3-man pop-up tent will do for now.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with ground tents.
No.
There really isn't.
No.
And you and I were talking about rooftop tents. Mine's gone. I don't regret getting rid of it.
No.
So I actually prefer sleeping relatively low down.
Obviously I can't get in a rooftop tent.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about having a lot of weight on the roof.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really have a lot of stuff to carry on the roof, but I've put the rails on and the bars so we can put like the sand tracks up there. Because as you know, back of a Range Rover, there's no bloody space. Once the wheelchair gets in there, it's pretty much full up. So
yeah, the people look at these cars and think they're really big. They're really not that big.
No.
I mean, they're long.
Yeah.
But the amount of storage space you've got is minimal, which is why my seats are out now, because I've run out of space.
Yeah.
On my roof, I've got my spare wheel.
Yeah.
Which I get shit for all the time.
I was going to say that's another talking point.
It's horrendous the amount of abuse I get for that. I've got a space saver emergency wheel when I go off road, and it's just, some people need to get a life.
I think so.
But the reason why it's up there now is because I've taken the back seats out, and because I've got those boxes and everything in there. Before, I used to be able to pull out the fridge and get that kitchen out, and it used to take me 20 minutes, and I could push everything forward with the seats out, and I could get to the bottom if I needed to. But now all that's in there, it would take me probably an hour to get to the wheel well.
Yeah.
So, touch wood again. It's been up there for a while, and I've not had to use it.
No.
It's the same diameter. But yeah, I've had horrendous amount of abuse for that thing.
Yeah.
Because I've got bigger wheel. Even if you had a proper full-size wheel, it wouldn't fit in the back anyway, because it's not built for that. It's built for the same size you've got. So.
Yeah. So we've got a full-size spare. But we never use it, obviously. Touch wood, we've been very lucky with punchers. We carry a puncher kit. I've got some slime, and we've got the compressor.
Yeah. I've got a tyre repair kit that I carry all the time, so I can plug something if I need to. I've got my compressor. I do have a can of slime if I need to.
Yeah.
If you're on the road, I could pull that thing down. It'd be tough to get that back up, but you could change a wheel quite quickly.
Yeah.
So things like that don't really faze me.
I don't get the argument about these space savers, because like you said in your video, you put it on to get the car to somewhere to fix it. You're not going to put it on the car and drive it for the next 3 months. No, if we had a space saver and we was out on the trails, we're local. We just drive it home and that's it. Get it fixed.
I've had quite a few people that they're probably all Toyota drivers or people with Honda Civics with huge spoilers at the back, basically saying to me, "Well, it's the wrong diameter." Well, it's a 20-inch. These are 20-inch wheels. That's 20-inch.
Yeah.
There is a slight profile difference, but you're not going to be doing 75 mile an hour to get to where you need to go.
No.
And that's the whole point of a space saver, to get you from point A where you have a
a
blowout to point B where you can get it fixed.
Yeah.
So if you take it carefully, you can probably, even where you are, how far are you away from a place that could fix a tyre?
5 minutes up the road.
Right. And if you're on a trail in the Pyrenees, you can get to a village that's got a mechanic that can do it. So you're not going to be belting along doing 70. So.
No. And if anyone's ever driven on a space saver, they know that they want to get it off as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It's bloody awful.
And there's a big yellow sticker on it that tells you do not go over this speed. So if you go over the speed, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
So I think my yellow sticker's still on it somewhere.
Yeah.
50 mile an hour or 70 kilometres an hour or something. Do not go over it. But They used to call them donuts in the States, but that is not a donut.
No.
With the really skinny ones that they have to sort of reduce weight. But have you used your sandboards, Max Tracks?
No.
I've used mine twice.
Yeah.
Both are types to build a bridge. Not with this. With the Defender. There was a section where I'd gone on my own, and because you don't have a spotter when you're on your own, I looked at it and I walked it, and I thought, if I go down here, I'm going to cross-axle it. So I had two at the time. I bought two since then. And I basically laid two of them over the top to drive one end over.
Yeah.
And I put a camera up just to see what it was like, and they went just sort of like that as I went through it. So I've used it twice to sort of build sort of bridges.
Yeah.
But not for what they're probably meant for.
I mean, we bought ours as an insurance policy, basically, because we're normally off out on our own. So I'm in the wheelchair. Tina would have to get out. I mean, I can get out and move stuff around the car, but I just use a bit of common sense. If it looks like you're not going to get through it, you just turn back up and go the other way.
Yeah.
You don't try not to get yourself in a position where you can't get out. But hopefully, carrying things like the tracks and the hand winch we've got, we'll never need to use them.
Yeah. There was a section in the first part of the Spanish thing that we did. I think it was a place called Biota. It was near there. And for, I don't know how many times I've done it, a dozen times backwards and forwards. There was this disgusting, smelly bog hole. And every time I got to it, it was sort of, and if I was on my own, I was like, you'd get out and you'd prod it. And it was long, but you could never feel in the center because there was too much, water around it to get into the middle to see whether it was soft. And there was the farmers had obviously built a cut around so they wouldn't, kick it all up. And then last year when the four of us went through there, I'd said to them, there's a bog hole up here. I've never been through it because I've been on my own, because I was too scared of getting stuck and no way of getting out. And so one said, right, well, I'm going to go through. One will go around the other end. So if you do get stuck, we can pull them out. That was the thing. So the three of them went through first and absolutely chewed the damn thing up. And they were going through it quite quickly. And of course, more of the water was getting splashed out. By the time I went through it, there was virtually nothing left. And there's a video of it going through there. And there's this black, sludgy, disgusting smelling mud all up the side of this thing. And probably for about the rest of the day, all you could smell was cow shit. Rotting, God knows what that we'd gone through. But I would never have attempted it if I was on my own.
No.
Because then, even if you had, Max Tracks or something like that, you'd be squelching around in this disgusting shit to try and get your car out. It's sort of like, no. But I had gone through it. But I think it's things like that, like you said, if you're on your own, you sort of weigh up whether you want to go through it.
Yeah.
And where the consequences if you don't get through. Because then you just wait for a farmer to come and shout at you because you've chewed up his land.
Yeah.
So, I would have had to do that. Think about it, I probably would have made it, but like I said, if you hadn't made it, you'd be covered in God knows what. But our friend Sam, who's probably watching this, you need to get him down here.
Yeah, we tried. He almost came out. I think he's going to come out next year. We'll see what happens. So Sam, get yourself out here.
Yeah. It's wonderful. You can camp out in the field. I did last night. And the weather's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, because it's always raining in Ireland, apparently. So
that's why it's so green.
Glorious sunshine here.
Yep. Anything else you're going to do with yours?
Well, I would like to get some underbody protection on it at some point. But as I say, the trails and off-roading around here, we've not experienced anything that extreme that we've sort of, oh shit, we're gonna hit sort of thing. It does, you get some undulations and this, that and the other, and the trail, it will drop off to one side. But at the moment, I think we're all right, but that's what I would like to get on it. Just peace of mind.
Yeah.
I
don't think there's, I use Wikilocks to get most of my trails, and people grade them. And what I've learned by looking at, so someone will say easy and moderate, hard. And there's some trails I've been on that have been, whether it says easy, meaning gravel roads, and there might be some washouts, where they put down as moderate. I think it's people perceptions of off-roading. Some people, that was difficult, depending on what car they're in. and then they sort of categorise them as moderate. You get on it, it's like, geez, that was easy.
Yeah.
And there's been others that have been categorised as moderate that have been difficult. But I don't think we have anything in Europe, and not unless you get out into sort of like the Balkans and places like that, where we got really, really tough stuff that we could do.
No.
I can't think of anything.
No. I mean, I've put a couple of trails on Wikilocks local to here. I think I've set them both to easy, apart from the first one got very narrow.
Yeah.
You know, it was probably a trail that farmers used to just wander cows up and down, and nothing ever very wide has gone up it. But obviously the Range Rover is quite wide, and so the sides of the thing came up with sort of rocks and trees, and that's when it was all growing in. You know, and the other one, that was easy. It was wide open gravel tracks through the woods, you know, nice. It was, you know, through the woods was off-road dirt and stuff. Nothing particularly difficult. I think there are some trails up round Limoges. There's a company, is it Road Books 4x4?
Yeah.
And you have to pay for it, they're bloody expensive.
Yeah.
Some of their trails are quite difficult, but they give you an easy route as well to go around bits if you don't want to scratch your car, all that kind of thing. But generally, it's really quite easy.
I had a lot of people ask me about where do you find your trails, and it's generally Wikilocks. I had I can't remember what it's called now. It's a French company that has all of the Pyrenees trails, but they're all in French. But you can get the GPX files, so I followed those before. And I've always said to people, they're like, well, you know, I'd love to go, but...
Yeah.
And I always say to people, find the easy ones on Wikilocks, and if you come across something that doesn't look like you can get through it, turn around and go back.
Yeah.
But unless you get out there and try them,
Yeah.
I think you become more confident the more you do.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you go on your own. But I think a lot of people are very hesitant about going on their own in case, like you said, you end up finding yourself in a situation, because you don't know what the trails are like. You don't know if there's a puddle.
No.
That you end up in a situation where you're like, oh dear.
Yeah.
And you can't always turn around either. I mean,
No.
there's some trails I've seen where rocks have fallen down on the trail, and people have obviously sort of had to reverse back the side of a cliff or a mountain, and then you think, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's even worse when you think about it, that we're sitting on the other side of on the right side, but and if you're up against the cliff and you got to reverse, and I did that once. There was a whole rock thing had come down, and first of all you begin to start shooting yourself, thinking, if I'm stuck here and that's already fallen down, what else is up there that could come down on me? But as you start reversing back, you can't see on this side.
No.
As opposed to if you were going up, you could look at it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of times, and my missus probably won't be watching this, but I wasn't paying full attention because I was sort of looking out this side and looking at my reversing camera, because I can't see out the back. I'm reliant on my reversing camera. And I stopped because I heard this thing go, and basically one wheel had gone over. So I had 3 wheels on, 1 off. I've never told her this because she would kill me. But and then I got out, and then I could see that basically most of the gravel had gone on this side, and so I had to go forward and be really, really careful. Went back, but I had to go back probably about a mile.
Yeah.
And it's, again, you were on just enough wide enough trail to get the vehicle on.
Yeah.
And then you sort of have to inch back, inch back, inch back. It's stuff like that when you're on your own, even if it would probably be even worse if you had to trail people, because then you get 4 or 5 people going backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember doing that one, because no one says, whoever went through and you recorded it probably 6 months before, and the rock fall wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it's things like that. Yeah, I've only told one person about that, but yeah.
Oh well, you just told the world now.
Yeah, I did, and if I'd have gone any further, the thing would have gone over, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
Because there was a huge drop off.
Yeah.
So is off-roading safe? No.
No. If you get a parachute, maybe.
Yeah. The underwear got changed about 3 times backing up doing that. I can tell you that much. But I did go back in and mark that trail, and I've not been up there since. But it's when you go and do things like that on your own, it's starting to put you.
Yeah.
You really have to
use a bit of common sense.
Yeah. But the common sense wasn't the only way is back. And by going back you had no choice until I found somewhere I could turn around.
Yeah.
But, there's wonderful scenery up there. Oh. I'm not sure I would want my cross up there, but yeah, it was wonderful scenery. I do think so on the plains of Spain. So from where Baldenas Reales is, which is sort of like the desert area, that's really drivable. But it's the diversity of scenery. When we went last year to Spain with the other guys, they loved it. But we sort of did it in reverse. We went there first and we drove all the way around. It's like 25 kilometers, I think, all the way around. And I couldn't get the three of them out of it. I kept saying, we drove the big loop. And it was just gravel. You can get any car down there. There were mountain bikers and stuff. And they were just amazed at the diversity of the landscape down there. So it's really easy to do. And the scenery was phenomenal down there. It's just like nothing you would think is sort of on the other side of the Pyrenees. Yeah. So if you get a chance to do that, I'd highly recommend that. Don't go in summer because it gets like 48 degrees.
Yeah.
It's the hottest temperature in Europe recorded down there. But yeah, it's an incredible place. Yeah, I'd highly recommend that.
Cool. That's about it, isn't it? Probably gone on for too long.
Well, you can edit it and cut out the bits you don't want to. The fact that I nearly killed myself.
So that's going to wrap up this video. Quick Q&A with Mr. Overlanding Forward. So thanks for popping in to visit.
Thank you for the invite. It's been great to meet you.
And we've had a look over his Range Rover here. Very well kitted out, and something we can all aspire to. Anyway, we shall catch you all in the next video. Bye for now.
Thank you.